going to get started, everyone. First of all, I just want to welcome everybody and thanks for coming. This session is part of the overall wellness experience here at Digital Hollywood, and I'm really thrilled to be moderating the panel and talking to all these lovely guests. Now, we'll start off with, did you know that Global Wellness Institute, the health and wellness industry, they're saying that about $4.2 trillion is spent alone on this industry. So it's a booming industry, it's a growing industry, and a lot of people are very interested in it. So that's why I'm really happy to be doing this panel with our lovely guests. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce them. To my left, we have the beautiful Amanda Russell. Amanda is what I like to call fitnesspreneur. She's a fitness icon, a brand catalyst, a sought-after speaker, and global expert on the power of influencer marketing. She's also the author and founder of the Influencer Code. Now, before the Influencer Code, she founded Fit, Strong, and Sexy, which is one of the first online subscription platforms, which today has more than 80,000 subscribers. That's a lot. It's a lot of subscribers. Currently, she funnels her expertise into helping brands collaborate, grow, and scale. Amanda co-founded the Interesting Agency and eventually sold her own eponymous consulting firm to become the CMO at Valeo. Is it Valeo? Valeo Securities. She's rebranded and relaunched it as Valeo Fit. Amanda is also the creator and professor of the only fully accredited influencer marketing course in the world at the prestigious UCLA. And I'm a little bit biased because it's my school. I'm an alumni, so so I think it is prestigious. She graduated from the University of Richmond on a full ride track scholarship and holds an MBA with a concentration in marketing. Her upcoming book, The Influencer Code, will be released in the fall of this year. So let's welcome her.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Rob Jacobs. Rob Jacobs is the textbook definition of a serial entrepreneur. Wait till you hear about him. He co-founded the company Unsit, which is an innovative and aspirational company working to unsit the world at home, workspaces, and schools. Unsit is getting people up and out of their chairs and moving again. And it's the world's first treadmill desk, really. Rob has a lifetime of experience in the health and fitness industries. From his time at the highly regarded Pritkin Longevity Center, where he developed customized workout plans on treadmills, all the way to his time at the Walking Center, which was a first of its kind chain of stores that he founded in Southern California. The Walking Center integrated entertainment with walking and wellness. Rob actually coined the term exertainment. In addition to launching Unsit, Rob is the co-owner of the National Gym Supply, the largest online supplier of parts and services to fitness facilities in the U.S. For decades, Rob has successfully led other companies and teams in all aspects of business and around the world. So let's welcome him. Thank you. And then last but not least, of course, simply put, Ken Rosenblood is dominating the health and wellness industries, and I do mean dominating. He's the CEO and founder of, is it Obvious? Obvious Solutions? Obvious. Okay. Ken has a proven successful track record of pioneering multi-billion-dollar platforms and developing products and devices in practice-based healthcare. Ken has been involved in many successful exits from previous ventures in recurring revenue, as well as PaaS and SaaS businesses. So let's welcome all of them. So as I was just stating, the wellness industry is growing. So you obviously have a lot of people that want to enter this, but you guys are the experts, so we thought we'd come to you. The first question I want to ask each of you is, how did you start your first company? And I'll start with you, ladies first. Amanda.
Oops. So I started my first company as a business school project, and it was in 2010, 2011, and my thesis was you can have the best product, service, or idea in the world, but if you don't have an audience that cares, it doesn't matter. And so many entrepreneurs have these great ideas for products and services, but they don't have the audience. So what if you kind of rearrange the cart before the horse, and you build the audience first? And this was when social media was really still in its infancy. Instagram wasn't around yet. YouTube was still mostly Dumb and Dumber style comedy. And I felt like you don't need any. I was seeing all of these YouTubers that had these cult-like followings that would literally buy anything or do anything they told them to do. And so I chose to start a YouTube channel as the medium because it required no capital and I could build an audience there. And then once I built that audience, rather than keeping it on YouTube, which was what a lot of the YouTubers were doing and a lot of these multi-channel networks were doing, is trying to keep everything on YouTube. You don't own anything on YouTube. Right. Was use that audience, and then I was like, well, now I want to drive them to something that I own, and I've got all these videos, so let's make a membership community and start doing a paid wall and signing up all these loyal viewers that were like, what do but I want to follow your nutrition plan and I want to follow your workout plan and everything. And then it started stemming, right? It becomes like a flywheel, in that all of a sudden women are getting married. There's the bridal plan, and then the pre-pregnancy, post-pregnancy, and it just becomes this machine. So that's how it spiraled.
Great, but.
Well, I didn't prepare for my first company, but I prepared for this one, but I'll wing it here. But Amanda, I got you beat. I could probably be your grandfather. When I started, the marketing was the Yellow Pages and a billboard. There was no internet, or not that people were using commercially anyway.
I think that's even better.
But,
Yeah,
but the how was, I was about to get fired from the guy I was working for at the store of exercise equipment. I figured I better figure out something quick. Oh. So that's only part of the story. I had seen something going on with exercise equipment in the 1980s that I was selling exercise equipment in a high-end Beverly Hills store, mostly to celebrities, setting up personal home gyms at a time when nobody had exercise equipment in homes. It was still a novelty. But I started fooling around because we had nothing to do one day on the treadmill, and realized the treadmill was really cool because it paced you and made you have to exercise. Right. You could push a button and control the speed, control the intensity, control the level of the workout. And I realized this is unique from everything else. And I wanted to start a store with just treadmills. Everybody thought I was nuts. And the guy I was working for wouldn't let me do it in there. So that was sort of the motivation. Is the guy I was working for was also an old friend, but he still thought I was nuts. So I got him to loan me a couple of his treadmills, moved over to Beverly Hills, got my own store, and took off from there. So it was largely motivated just to prove out an idea that I had. Right. And the idea largely failed, actually, because my idea was to have videos and treadmills under one roof, and it was a membership where you could come and walk and watch movies at the same time. And this is before gyms had walls of video players. That was still a novel idea. Wow. But it was largely motivated just to prove out an idea that I had. We ended up selling the equipment, and retail of products became my mainstream. Wow. It was a long time ago. Yeah. The Yellow Pages are gone now.
That's interesting. Such a contrast in stories, but I love that.
Right.
And Ken?
Necessity is the mother of invention. So back in 1985, I was studying for the bar exam. And all I was doing was studying and playing tennis and riding my bike. That was my circuit, so to speak. John McEnroe was the most popular tennis player in the world, and he had Nike 3/4 cut shoes. I love those shoes. But to tie them up and take them on and off was a pain in the butt. So I took literally my underwear and a paper cutter, stripped out the elastic, made shoestrings out of it, or shoelaces, and created a lock, patented the lock and the lace combination, and I made the Energy Lace system. That was it.
That was it.
Foot Locker, Walmart, NBA license on the front.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You guys have such diverse, incredible stories. I love that. The way that you all entered your industry is just very interesting. Let me ask you this too, since you're experts in that. Why did you decide to start your company? Because you could have just worked for somebody else in the same industry and not had as many headaches. As anybody who's ever run a business knows, there's so much that goes into it, so much overhead, so much cost, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of stress. So what made you want to own the business as opposed to just kind of working for somebody else in a high-ranking executive position under?
I think bosses are a pain in the ass, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. When you've got the entrepreneurial bug, it's hard, isn't it?
Very hard,
Yeah.
truly.
It's
Definitely.
ironic because I never ever thought I would be an entrepreneur. I love structure, and I had my eyes set on, like, I love very corporate style structure, and I did, after my undergraduate, I worked in New York City for one of the biggest consulting firms in the world, and sitting in a cubicle day after day, and having had come from being an athlete, where it's really hard work, but you're so passionate about what you do and you're so driven. I knew I wasn't afraid of hard work, but I didn't like feeling like I was on somebody else's time clock. And what I realized was, yes, I like structure, but I like control too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to be able to do something where it felt like, I know this is going to be a lot of work, and we, all of our clients were all these, everything from banks to brands, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, you name it.
Right.
But you don't actually care about them that much.
Right.
And I thought, God, if I'm putting this much work into somebody else's company, I might as well own it.
Right.
We're all control freaks.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, we're all control freaks.
No, I'll echo what Ket said. I mean, not a lot of the bosses are pain in the ass, but it's not so much that, it's just you see your own way, you want to do it, you just want to be let loose. I mean, I grew up
Yes.
in a household, my dad was a business entrepreneur, he had his own business, so I didn't know anything else. I always thought everybody's dad owned a business. And I didn't realize you could actually work for somebody else. But I think for me, it's just the feeling of confinement, that you're stuck doing somebody else's routine over and over again. You got your own idea. And probably today I'd be categorized as a real learning disability, the attention people, I'd be thrown into that category. But I just couldn't sit still long enough to wait. I want to go out and do my thing. So I think there's a lot of just internal, motivation that just, certain kind of brain type that's common.
My grandfather was an influence, and my grandfather was an inventor also. And if he had an idea, off into the garage, whether it was your idea, his idea, let's go make it. And same thing, right? Just no fear. Why would you be scared? Yes, we can do this.
Wow. That's always a good
Oh,
way to look at things.
That's funny. And I'm from an immigrant. My mother's an immigrant from Italy, and they are scared shitless, excuse my French, of entrepreneurial endeavors. They want safety and security and get a 9-to-5 job and a regular paycheck. And so
They would love my grandparents. They're all about clocking in and clocking out.
Yeah, when she said, "Oh my God, you're gonna do YouTube for," do I tell people you do YouTube for a job? Where are you? How are you gonna pay the bills?
Right.
So
right.
it was like I lost complete support of my family when doing it.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Well, that actually leads me to my next question, which is, what is the most challenging thing about being in this health, wellness, fitness industry, as opposed to maybe some other industries, especially as a business owner? What have you guys all found is the most challenging thing for you to kind of navigate?
Well, I'll dive in. I thought about that. For me, it's trying to not, follow the path of all the snake oil that's out there, and trying to keep yourself
Yeah.
separate from it, because there's so much of it. I've been in health and wellness thing all my life, and there's so many things out there that are phony or fake, or maybe the people believe in it, but I'm just raising my eyebrows thinking, oh, that thing. And so trying to make sure that your product really has integrity, that it really can help people, that it's not just a sales pitch, and really trying to stay above the fray in that regard. For me, that's something I'm always conscious of, that the industry's full of that. And
Oh, yeah.
That really resonates with me, that you want to make sure that your product has integrity. Right now, as a product developer and developing a device in conjunction with software, and you're out there speaking to strategic partners or bankers, et cetera, and they're going, what's your MVP? What's your MVP? And MVP is an acronym for most viable product. What's the least amount that you can put out there to prove your concept? And I find that I am the anti-MVP. I think that you have to wait until you've created something or that you've developed something and you can repeat it, that is going to make people look at things differently, and that you kind of can't split things into many parts. So I feel a frustration with that, but then again, it's not my first rodeo.
Right. What about you?
So mine was never a physical, tangible product. It was all digital videos and digital programming. And with workouts, thank God, it's not, you're not selling snake oil, which is, I've been bombarded by brands that do sell a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I think not aligning with those and selling out was a big deal, because I made a big mistake in the beginning, and I endorsed a protein brand that it was terrible for you. And I did it for the money.
Yeah.
And I saw what it did to my audience, and then the guilt factor on myself. But I think the biggest challenge is in being able to get the attention of the audience, because it's such a fragmented market that people buy from people they trust.
Right.
And so you have to win the trust. You have to develop a relationship, and that doesn't happen overnight. And too many brands and entrepreneurs and agencies are trying to do this transactional approach of the pay to play and, you know, get somebody in the door. But, you know, how it costs, you know, 5 times more to get somebody in the door if you're not going to keep them loyal. And so to be able to play the long game and really differentiate yourself, to develop a relationship with the audience, the target audience that you're trying to win over.
Now, that actually falls right into my next question, which is how do you stay authentic but ahead of the curve? Because number one, it's a cluttered marketplace. The consumer is very educated. They have a short attention span. And there's always a new guy on the block or a new girl on the block coming at you at rapid speed. So how do you maintain your product? Scale, obviously, which is what everybody wants to do in business, but then make sure that you have something that consumers or customers want.
So I'd like to add on what Amanda said, and she spoke about the credibility. Thank you. Credibility. I think that in my situation right now, I'm going to, and I've used doctors and their staffs as the credibility, so that you're not spraying and praying, so you're not just attracting people and then they don't like it or they don't know how to use it. So I think it's very important, be true to yourself, make sure the product works for yourself, right? Or the service works for yourself, but then align yourselves, especially with healthcare professionals in the space that we're in, wellness and healthcare. People trust their treating physician. People trust their wellness practitioner. If you can get them on your side and have them be your spokesman, that's the credibility that we're after right now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Either one of you.
Well, I'm just going to echo both, and part of the answer is I don't know exactly what the answer to the question is. But for me, it's in the case of our product, I'm doing a product, and it's the design, and do we really have something that unique that solves a problem?
Right.
And you know, if I've got that, you know, I was of course really disheartened when I met Ken. I sat down next to my co-panelist here, and he bought my competitor's product, but that's okay. It's a good product.
I don't like that. It doesn't go fast enough.
Yeah. Okay. Mine doesn't go fast either. But the thing is they obviously did something on marketing or price that got Ken before I got there, or AdWords, whatever. But can you keep your product unique? Does it have really truly unique selling propositions? You know, have you designed and added or created, even if you're just adding on, and we just added on to something that already existed, but we did something different with it that really did add value. So I think that's, you know, it's the value proposition. Do you really have it?
So I have to answer this question because I've made this in my entire life's work. How do you break through the noise in this more saturated market?
Right.
And I believe, because no social media platform is the way it was, no advertising platform is the way that it was even just a few years ago. It is really hard, and unless you're going to spend $50,000 or more a month consistently on advertising, it's really, really hard to get noticed. So how do you get noticed if you don't have that kind of budget? And you do it by finding who has that audience. Influencers. And when I say influencer, I don't just mean a social media star. I mean a brand that has a dedicated audience that legitimizes you. A doctor, Cedars-Sinai, any doctor at Cedars-Sinai is going to be an influencer, and they touch every patient that they touch. They are real estate agents, if you're a local brand, real estate agents in the neighborhood in which your restaurant exists. Finding who has those audiences and collaborating with them so that it's a win-win. You grow their business, they grow yours.
Okay. Let me ask you this too, because I think all of you guys on the panel are serial entrepreneurs. Actually, it's not your first rodeo, right? So the second and the third time around, does it get easier?
Tattoo.
No.
Does it get easier? Because
No.
I always I think a lot of people think if I could just
Not
get
for
this
me.
one business off the ground, if I could just be successful in this one business, then I could start a second or third business. It'll be much easier because I'll have a track record. I already have the notoriety. I'll have the money.
Did you go to 171?
And then there was 4.
There she is.
Okay, well, we'll just.
We're not on?
Oh, I think we should be. Are we on? Yeah. Okay, great.
They had me in the wrong room.
Oh, So sorry about that. Okay, so she's joining us. Well, let me just stop and introduce Courtney, and then we can continue what we're doing. Courtney's also a business owner. We call her a business phenom, really. She's the founder of GBY Beauty, which is a popular beauty-based brand that is nationally recognized for its innovative treatments, exclusive environment, and the GBY Beauty Academy. She's also the co-founder of The Cycle Girl. The Cycle Girl is a physician-approved brand for teen girls specializing in feminine hygiene and educational information. Both brands have a focus on giving back to the community. GBY Beauty has partnered with the Department of Mental Health Services, which is a great thing, really needed nowadays, to offer an education program for at-risk youth. While the Cycle Girl has partnered with the Latterman Regional Center and the Challengers Boys and Girls Club to offer a range of educational programs which are free to the communities that they serve. So let's welcome Courtney. We'll have you kind of jump right in
Yeah,
there. What I was asking them was basically, and you've got more than one business as well, kind of, is it easier the second time around to start the business? Like once you've had a successful business the first time and you're opening up a second business or a third business, does it ever get easier?
I think personally, it's had its challenges. You have to make sure that your teams are strong when you decide to step away from the brand that you're currently steering 24/7, 7 days a week. But I do think there is some benefits of starting a second brand and a third brand. You have the contacts, you kind of know the ebbs and flows of business, what works, what doesn't work, and where to allocate your time.
Wow, okay. I think you guys had all answered the second, did you answer the second time around? Does it get easier for you guys, or?
He said no. I was going to say yes, but
Really?
I will say that Ken's right in terms of the actual starting of the business is the same. You got to do all the slogging through the legal work and the
Execution.
The execution, yeah, that's just hard work, and you just got to put your head down and push and do it. I mean, things have gotten a lot easier in the modern age. When I first started my business, you had to, there wasn't an internet. You weren't going to do things online. Now you just point and click. You got a business license, and so that stuff, some of that you don't need as much admin support. But in terms of, I was looking back just on my life and thinking, no, it's a lot easier in that I'm just a lot more comfortable with it may not work, and I'm not going to get hung up on that, and the market's going to tell me whether or not I got something good or not. And also, I'm financially more secure. When you start out when I was young, it was life and death. Am I going to eat tomorrow? Kind of That's hard.
Yeah.
If your personal security is in good shape, then it just makes it get up in the morning, you're having fun with it. So on that sense, it's been easier for me this time around. It's more of a, something, I don't have to do this, I'm doing it more for the fun of it.
Yeah, by no means did I mean to undermine the role of wisdom and lessons. My children would make me eat my words on that one. Wisdom counts. You don't beat around the bush as much, you take your losses, right? They didn't like it, I'm out of here. Okay, move on. But yeah, so it does get easier in that regard, but things getting you upset. You mentioned it about 24/7, 7 days a week. I think entrepreneur comes from French and it means to undertake. It is an undertaking, right? It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You don't know what's going to go wrong. And when it does, you're the one that's going to answer for it, and you're the one that has to be there.
Wow. Let me ask the two ladies, actually, this particular question. It's hard being a business owner, an entrepreneur to begin with, but talk to me about some of the challenges as a female entrepreneur. I'm sure both of you guys have some great examples, or maybe something that you run into that you think might be particular to your being a female, or even maybe fundraising,
Yeah, the challenges that I've experienced were in the fundraising process for my brands. I think that, but I don't want to say it's a male-female issue all the time, but I do think when you're fundraising and you're looking for that investment from someone that doesn't understand the marketplace and doesn't really understand women and doesn't understand beauty and the trends, and you're going to try to seek funding, and more often than not, they are a lot of men and VC funds that are male dominant, you do find yourself in these situations where they just kind of don't get it.
Yeah.
And they kind of look at you and they don't really see the vision that you see. So that's probably been really the only time I've had, fortunately, the time that I've had with hiccups like that.
Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
heard too, even when you go in and you're pitching or you're just trying to raise funds, sometimes it takes you longer. You might have to go to like 3 or 4 VCs or 5 VCs
Yes.
before you actually get one that wants to take a chance or understands your vision.
Yes. And then once you take the funds, you have to continue to
Right.
get funding. So that's a whole other thing you need to prepare yourself for.
Right. That's good to know for sure. What about you, Amanda?
So I don't like the whole that it's harder to be a female in business. I think that we have just as many assets as well that we work and use, and we get a lot of extra, because there's only so many females that are funded. Certain companies have extra money for that, or you can get grants, or you can get funding. I think that we get some unfair advantages as well, and if you know how to take advantage of those, you can use them. So, and I think that, if you're really good at what you do and you're the best person in the room, great. If you happen to be female, you're gonna get the job too, if you really are the best at what you do. But the problem is that a lot of times women tend to focus more on the product benefits or the service benefits or the business benefits or the lifestyle, what the calendar is going to look like, whereas men are focusing more on the numbers. So that's how they tend to pitch better, because that's what speaks to investors.
Right. No, you bring up a very, very valid point. That may be something that we as women need to work on as well. I mean, we always have the idea, we're very creative, obviously. I mean, we're great with numbers too, but sometimes I think you can just be so monofocused on the creative vision part of it and not on the monetization part of it, which is why VCs want to be involved in the
Exactly.
first place. So something to
So we're the
keep in mind.
first. So a lot of times, women are the first. We are our own worst enemies, and we're not the first to blame. But if you look at the actual tangibles and you block out the name and you look at the work, a lot of times I find myself in the role of wanting to hire men,
Right.
because if I were to block the face and the name, and I get what the product is, I'm like, great, and there's less sick days, and there's less. I mean, I'm probably gonna get crucified now.
Well, there's so many books out there that always say solve a problem, and the first thing you have to think of, how are you going to monetize it? Because if you're not
Yeah.
able to monetize it, what you have is a hobby.
Yeah.
You basically have a hobby that may make a little bit, but if you don't have a monetization plan attached to a business plan, it will always be a hobby. So
Exactly.
that's just my point of view. I'm wondering how many of you guys started with another partner? Were you always just alone as a business owner, starting and then bringing other people on, or did you ever have a co-partner? Any of you in your businesses?
Yes, my first business, I had a partner. She was actually my law office partner, and she saw how much I hated making my living 0.25 of an hour at a time, and said, look, you've got these ideas. This is the one I like. File the patent. Let's see what happens, and, we'll keep both businesses running. And that's how we funded it, bootstrapped it.
Really? Very interesting. You're wonderful to have her. See a woman coming through there. I love that. I love that.
Well, the problem that I have right now with discrimination is age discrimination. You go in front of these venture capitalists and they go, what's this old fart doing here? But, it's different strokes for different folks. If you've got a good idea and you're well balanced and you want to be a CEO, then you better know how to do the creative side and the numbers side, and please both of them, right? And I like your answer that you don't see gender. Unfortunately, I think that bankers and venture capitalists are sometimes blind to vision, regardless of whether it's a gender-oriented brand or not.
That's where I say
Yeah.
it's the tangibles of
Yeah.
what is presented, which is what she said as well.
Right. Oh, what about you, Rob? Would you like to?
Yeah, no, I've always had a partner, and I have to. I mean, I got to confess, I'm just terrible on on the details and the follow-through, and if I don't have somebody else who's holding me accountable and who can, knock out that detail stuff and, stay with the plan, I'll fail miserably. So everything I've done has been with a partner of one sort or another. And this thing I'm on now, I've really gotten it right, because my partner's beautifully complimentary. He's a, anal reader, follows every detail. He's calling me up when I miss a comma or or something like that, and I'm the opposite. So it's a nice combination. And I've learned a lot about myself as I've got grown kids now, and one of my sons grew up with a learning disability that I had to figure out how I'm going to get him educated.
Right.
And through learning that, I realized, oh my God, I have a learning disability, and I just never knew.
Wow.
But what we do, guys like us, is we find other people to partner with to balance that out. So, I've got the spark, the creative idea. I'm seeing it 20 years down the road, but you got to do step 1, step 2, step 3 first.
And I'm wondering too, with a lot of VC firms, do they require you to have kind of a partner? I mean, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, that there are kind of gun shy when it comes to people just coming in as a solopreneur. They're thinking, well, if we allow you to have all this funding or this money and something happens to you, then what happens to the company? Is that something that you guys have heard or found in your own personal business lives?
I might be experiencing it a little bit right now. I have a co-founder. It's my wife. And she is my detail person. And I was out there kind of on my own, and they said, "Are you on your own?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but no, because, you know, you and your wife are kind of one." So the rest of the management team said, "Let's put her up there. Let's put her on as a founder. Let's get her cards. Let's put her on LinkedIn because she's doing all these details, right? Whether it's the contracts, whether it's the books, etc." So I think that it is good to have some numbers with you and to have a solid team, whether that's a co-founder or a group of excellent people around you. They do want to see that.
What about you, Courtney? Did you have a founder at all? And you have a number of businesses.
Yeah, I have a co-founder that helps me, that I've kind of effortlessly but she's been my partner in every product and company that I've launched. And I do think that VCs want to see where the funding's going. So if you have people in place, whether it be a CIO, CFO, COO on that you're partnered with, then they know their money's going to be utilized correctly, and you're not just going to give yourself like $300,000 salary.
Right? Well, everybody
Yeah.
else gets like minimum wage,
Yeah.
so. Right.
Yeah.
And, Amanda, did you ever have, I know you're in fitness, but did you ever have a co-partner or any, with all your businesses?
Yeah, so when I started, I did not, and then I brought on actually Maker Studio, which is now sold to Disney, and they became my partner for my fitness platform. When I wanted to move beyond YouTube and move it onto something that I owned, they were very much into the business model of keeping it all on YouTube. So I left. I got out of I split with Maker, and I joined as a 50% my 50% partner became Trium Entertainment, which are here in LA, and they are creators behind everything pretty much entertainment meets fitness, so Biggest Loser, Amazing Race, and they were a bunch of, in their words, old television guys, and they needed to break into digital, and that's where everything was going. So they became my business partner as we built out the first really online subscription model, and then we got it to scale, and they thought they knew the audience, you know, which was women, which was my audience, and so we had a little bit different vision, and I think not often people talk about the separation of partnerships. Right. We had different visions on where we wanted the brand to go, so I bought the brand back out from them and ran it myself with a team for several years until I sold it it'll be just over a year in February to Valio Securities, which is owned by a private equity company, and now I'm back in-house for them on an exit strategy for, I finish, actually it's a 2-year exit strategy.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, wonderful.
So yeah, so it's been sort of like from one partner and then back to myself. But you kind of, you know, they all served a certain purpose, and
Right.
they said they complemented what we didn't have, which is what I have, like high production value, you know, traditional media experience. So.
We all need that. No
Yeah.
one is an island to their own. I mean,
Right.
behind every successful person is a business owner, somebody else that helped them.
Right. And I think speaking to all of them serving a purpose, you learn something from all those experiences, right? So when you take on different partners and then you buy them out or get back your company, you kind of realize for your future vision, or what, if you want to ever do another product or brand, what works best for you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd actually love to open it up to the audience, because I know people probably have questions from you guys. I want to pick your brain a little bit. Is there anyone that has a question for them? I can start on the side.
Break the ice, somebody.
Don't be
Crickets,
shy. Anybody
crickets,
has any
crickets.
business questions? Anybody? Well, I have some more questions. When it came to, was there one person? Oh, yeah, you do. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you find that when starting up a business, it's better to sort of bootstrap it yourself and going into it as something stable, and then investors, or to start with a business plan, bring it directly to investors that have growing and working?
I'll take a crack at that. I don't like it. Pardon me?
Oh, you wanted to know something about, is it better to kind of bootstrap it and get started on your own with your own funding, or just go straight out and try to raise funding from the get-go?
I've never worked with other people's money. I've always bootstrapped. This is the first time that I've got something that, the venture capitalists, they look at new companies and they say angel seed, A, B, C, D round, etc. I don't like to fit into those silos or pigeonholes. I think it's awful. But as I already admitted, I'm a big control freak. So I'm a firm believer in if you have a vision and you're really going to do something different, then get her done. But where I stand right now is that to scale up quickly, I'm going to need a financial partner to do what I want to do.
All right.
So always learning.
Yeah, no, I got to echo Ken's experience. I've always just done it myself, bootstrapped it, and gotten it going, with my own money or family money. That's all I know how to do. I've never done the investor thing. I've been around that. I've gone to pitch meetings. I've tried a couple of times and almost gotten there, but never did it. And I'm like, Ken, I don't want some investors who don't know anything about what I'm doing telling me, what goals to hit and when and who to hire. So I've just done it myself the old-fashioned way. The downside of that is you can't grow very fast. The thing I've got going now, we're not growing fast, but we're cash positive every step of the way. We don't owe anybody any money. We got cash in the bank. And, that's just the way I like to do it. I can sleep at night that way.
Yeah, you sleep much better that way when
but
it's your money.
But there are certain things, like you mentioned some inventions. Sometimes if you've got something with a patent and you want to do you want to go to Asia and get them made in volume, then you might need cash. And in that case, the business plan is, and having it thought through with the team behind it, you got to have all those pieces. But the things I've done in my life have just been bootstrapped up and then, work night and day till you get it there.
I think it's kind of my answer to that would be, I think it's kind of a mixture in terms of, you said it's bootstrap versus a business plan. I think regardless, you need to have a business plan. It doesn't have to be a formalized business plan, but there has to be a goal what this looks like. And I think that's a lot. I think where the divide becomes between successful entrepreneurs and those that can't seem to get out of the 2 to 5 year cycle is that planning out how much money you're going to need to get by. What does your budget look like? How much money are you going to need to live? How much money are you going to need for this? Kind of really run those numbers so that you know what this, and then hitting milestones that, like, I know that if I'm not here, that this is not working. So whether or not you're doing it, you're bootstrapping or you're taking money, if you're on the right path or not, because not having those numbers, you're just going to start to burn cash, and there's no way you can sleep at night.
You can't even scale that on your own.
Exactly.
And Courtney?
Well, I think bootstrapping when you initially start your company is probably the smartest thing to do, because you learn by trial and error, and when you take someone's money, it's on their terms. So when you're first starting your company and you don't know how it's going to affect your life, the stresses of it, what works, what's not working, when you take funding, I think most people that have taken it from the jump you burn through cash really quickly because you think you need all of these bells and whistles. And sometimes when you're a creative problem solver, you can find that your company and yourself can endure a lot more. And I had my companies for 5 years. I just now took funding, and I wouldn't have been prepared to take any money when I thought that I would have been even a year ago. When I was like, oh, I'm ready now. I'm so glad that I waited, because I know what works, what doesn't work, how things work. And when you just have all this cash, I think people, like I said, they're not creative problem solving. They're not really digging down into themselves to see what they can do on their own. And you can just burn through so much money.
Much better. Look,
so better.
It's just
so much
common
better.
sense. You budget much better when it's your money versus when it's your parents' money or somebody else's money, because you don't really care. So in that sense, I can totally understand that. I'm also wondering too, for a lot of people that may have day jobs, but they have an idea and they want to transition over. Any tips you could offer them, because they are going to have to work before work, after work, and the weekends to get this thing off the ground, but they need to eat too. So a lot of people have to stay kind of in that 9 to 5 to pay the bills until they can really see some success in this side business to turn it into a bigger company. And I was wondering if you guys have any experience with that or offer some tips for people who might.
Don't give up your day job.
Yeah,
You'll be working mornings, nights, and weekends.
yeah.
Yeah, just scheduling time, and you have to think of what's a priority too, like those happy hours or that gym time. getting your nails done. I mean, it's so funny because I will hear literally, I say getting the nails done because I hear it in nail salons all the time, like about these ideas that people have, but they just don't have time for it. And you're watching them get like an hour and a half like pedicure. And I'm thinking there's a lot more hours in the day if you get up earlier, if you stay up later. And yes, something, you're going to have to sacrifice some things, but anyone says that you can just have it all. There's only so many hours in a day, and the really great things, the reason they're so great is because they took a lot of work and they're extraordinary, because if it was easy, then everybody would do it and everybody would have it.
Time management is key. It's crucial in anything, in managing your time, right, and putting your time and energy where the focus should be. Because you're right, we all do a lot of things that is just mindless stuff. I mean, I spent like an hour on Instagram for what? You know, that's an hour you could have had with your business plan. So, so yeah, just have the time management. Are there, young lady right here?
Just a quick question. So let's just play this out for a second. You have an idea. What were the first, or are the first, let's say, 5 practical steps that you take in order to actualize that idea? You guys, what's your process?
Prototype. Give it to people.
What do you mean by that?
Build it. I mean, even my elastic shoelaces, right, which ultimately became these beautiful nylon bungee cords with aglets, which are a fancy word for lace tip. But, you know, originally it was the elastic out of my Calvin Kleins that I put in my grandfather's paper cutter, right? And it worked. I could slip my high tops on and off. They didn't come undone in the middle of a set, and they stayed snug. It worked. It was a prototype. Then I gave it to other people, you know, let me put my underwear in your shoes, as strange as that sounds. But yeah, you prototype, you test.
No, I'll just echo Ken. I mean, I've had the same experience. I built this thing I'm doing now. I built a treadmill desk for myself. My friends liked it. I built 12 of them, gave them to friends and people in the community, and got feedback, and then changed it based on the feedback. But those, and that I paid for out of my pocket. You know, those were the first. But and then it proved to people like this, will they use it? So yeah, in the case of a product, you know, it's proving it out before you can go to investors or go to market.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then comes the marketing plan. When you know, then you.
Step 1, so I'm asking for at least maybe 3 steps.
Yeah, 3. Okay,
So
okay.
I would say
You're making us work now.
if I were to have to give it to you in steps, I would say number 1, business plan. What does your brand look like? Like what is it? What's the idea behind it? And then number 2, and write that down and write your ultimate goal. So what is the bottom line goal at the, you know, where do you want to be in 5-10 years from now? Like the big idea goal. Because once you have that goal, then you work backwards. Then that's going to determine your budget. That's going to determine your marketing plan. Step number 2 is who's your customer? Who's your target audience? What do they look like? Where do they hang out? What are they buying? Who are your competitors? Doing a complete market analysis of what that looks like. What stakeholders are involved? Like if you are doing something in the food industry, you're coming out with a new nutrition bar, you know, how does the government play a role in that? Are there certain things you have to pass? And then number 3 is coming back to the numbers, is going through literally writing out what is year 1, year 2, everything from like supplies that you need to the rent you need to pay, so that you can, and padding it so that you're not in a situation where, oh my God, I got 6 months in and I did all this stuff. If you don't have a plan, it is too easy to just veer off left,
Yes.
right, and center, and
Absolutely.
let distractions come in the way. Let every idea seems good, every connection seems good, and you could spend all your days on meetings, spinning your wheels.
And then you have nothing.
Yeah.
You have nothing to show for it. No,
But- exactly.
I feel you. You have to be like laser sharp focused. But I want to make sure we get you
Go ahead,
in
sorry.
to answer
Oh,
questions, Monique.
I mean, for me personally, I've had an idea, and then does it already exist in the marketplace? And if it does, who are my competitors? And what are my competitors not doing? And what can I do to serve a need that this product already has? Like, you know, we built an education program around our feminine hygiene product, and then we found a community that the product served, and that just took off. You know, I think if you do your due diligence on what you want to create and then really hone in to see who it can serve and then look at the numbers, you should be, I'm not saying you're going to be 100% good, but I mean,
Yeah, you were going to say.
Well, no, I'll just add to what everybody's saying, because I hear people in the audience, they're thinking of starting a business, what kind of plans, and yeah, after the product's proved out, you've got to have the marketing plan, you've got to do the traditional SWOT analysis for yourself.
Right.
Even whether you have investors or not, you've got to, is there a market, where are they, how am I going to reach them, how am I going to get my product to them, those things. But I just wanted to throw in my General Eisenhower quote, which I love to throw in at these kind of things, but General Eisenhower always liked to say that in war, plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And you've got to make the plan, but then you've got to be prepared to deviate from the plan if it's not
Exactly.
working.
That's touche.
Well, let's thank all our panelists. That was a lot of information, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Hope you guys got a lot out of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.